Hi there. You've tuned into Aha Moments with Ron Barnett, and I'm your host, Ron Barnett. The purpose of this video series is to take some basic concepts that we all know, to shed some light on things that we all deal with every day and yet may or may not have articulated, to mix in a little bit of insight so that you have what I like to call an aha moment. The light bulb goes off above your head and you say, never thought about it like that before. Tonight, we want to talk about how to get along with just about anybody. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but going through your day, have you ever had this situation where you say, life would be so much easier if there were just less people involved? I've had friends of mine that are in the ministry who say the best part about being a pastor of a church is dealing with people. But the worst part of being in the ministry is dealing with people. Now, there are 8 billion people on this planet, and we are not going to get away from each other. As a matter of fact, when God built the whole thing, when he set the whole thing up and put Adam in the middle of it, and he said, it's not good for a person to be alone. We as people are built for relationship. As a matter of fact, the basis of all life is relationships. The worst thing you can do to a person in prison is put him in isolation. As a matter of fact, some of you felt like you've been in prison with this pandemic that we've been in, because now we've been isolated from each other. And have you ever noticed that when you spend a lot of time by yourself, you tend to get a little weird? You tend to get inside your own head. That's because we are built as people for relationship. Because the basis of all life is relationship. Now, let's not get too graphic, but realize that the reason we're all here on this planet is because some man and some woman somewhere had a relationship. Now, I'm not saying they had a great relationship. I'm not saying they had a long-lasting relationship. I'm not even saying that they had a great relationship with you. But I am saying that there was a relationship at some point in time. Now, if you had a great relationship with your parents, if they had a great relationship with each other, then that's all the better. But the basis of all life is relationship. Somebody somewhere brought you into this world. They clothed you, they fed you, they nursed your boo-boos, they educated you, they employed you. You've started other relationships with other people. And so you understand that where one person can do one thing, that more people together can do more things. All right. And so we need each other. Now, I have a guy for everything. Not even necessarily a guy, but I've got a person. I've got a lawn guy. He takes care of my trees. I've got a plumber that I call that it takes care of my plumbing in my house. I've got a heating and cooling guy. I've got a guy who takes care of my car. I got a lady that I call when my computer breaks down. I got a lady that I call when I need hemming done on my clothing. Why? Because we need each other, and we all have skills that make the whole thing work. So we are nothing if we are alone, because we are built for relationship. The basis of all life on this planet is relationship. When we moved from one place to another, we moved into a new town. We said, hey, we need a doctor. Anybody know where we can get a doctor? What is that? That's networking. What is that? That's relationship. When my wife needed a job, we contacted a friend of ours, and he works at a company in the town that we live in. Now, he was living in Texas, but we were living in Florida, and the home office is in Florida, and he helped her get a job. See, the key to all life, the basis of all life is relationships. And the faster we understand that. Now, you show me somebody who struggles in relationship. You show me somebody who in kindergarten was said did not work and play well with others. I'll show you somebody who struggles in life. Would you show me somebody who navigates life well? That's a person who's understood that we're all in this together. We need each other. And without each other, the whole thing is pointless. So the key to life, the basis of all life on this planet is relationships. We can't do it alone. As a matter of fact, even the Lone Ranger had Tonto. So even the Lone Ranger wasn't alone. So if the basis of all life is relationships, you say, Ron, what is the basis of all relationships? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The basis of all relationships is expectations. Now, I know some of you thought I was going to say communication, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But the basis of all relationships is expectations. If you and I can learn to manage the expectations we have of ourselves, of other people, manage their expectations of us, then things will go a lot better. And we all have expectations. And we don't always say them out loud, but we have expectations. I've got expectations of you, you've got expectations of me. And when we meet each other's expectations, then things go well. It's when we don't meet others' expectations that things tend to get difficult. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're going to breakfast. We go to breakfast with our friends every Sunday morning after church. We go to church. We're out of church at 10:30. This other couple goes to my wife and I to breakfast every Sunday. We go in, and the first question we ask when we get there, they ask us, they say, what do you want to drink? I normally drink decaf coffee. Now, don't judge me, because I like decaf coffee. I like the taste of coffee, but the caffeine makes me hyper, and nobody wants that. And so I'll say to the waitress, let's call her Darlene. Hey, Darlene, I'd like a cup of decaf coffee. Now, I've asked people this question before, and the answer always comes back pretty much the same. How long between the time you put in the order for the coffee should the coffee be sitting on your table? And the answer is about 5 minutes. Now, nobody says this out loud. Nobody thinks this to themselves. But when you put in that order, the clock in your head starts ticking. And you say, in 5 minutes, if I've got a cup of coffee in front of me, then things are good. If I've got a cup of coffee in front of me, then Darlene has done her job. As a matter of fact, if I run out of coffee and she brings me more coffee, if she does it when I ask her to, within 5 minutes, we're still good. If she brings me coffee before I tell her, she comes by and notices I need coffee, she's exceeded my expectations, and I'm even more pleased. I was pleased when she did it right. I'm even more pleased when she exceeds my expectations. But what happens when I say, hey, Darlene, I need another cup of coffee? And 5 minutes goes by, 6 minutes goes by, 8 minutes goes by, and I've got no coffee. And I look, and she's over there talking to her friends. She's laughing. She's talking to other customers. She's not even paying attention to the fact that I need coffee. What happens? She's not met my expectation. You ever been driving down the road and all of a sudden you're on the freeway and someone swerves in front of you without signaling? What do? They didn't tell you what their expectations were. So you have an expectation that when you are driving and someone wants to change lanes, they'll signal. You have an expectation when you go into a movie theater that everybody will be quiet. You have an expectation when you're on a plane that everybody will just sit back and relax. And yet all those situations are relationships that you're in, and you have expectations of the people in that relationship. You ever been in a restaurant and there's a kid in the booth behind you, and he keeps popping up like a demonic jack-in-the-box, interrupting your meal? And you're thinking to yourself, why doesn't somebody deal with that kid? That's your expectation, that that kid should leave you alone and let you enjoy your meal, that mom and dad ought to corral that kid, right? Guess what? You have expectations when people don't meet your expectations in any relationship, anywhere, at any level. When people don't meet our expectations, that's where problems start. So if you say the basis of all life is relationships, and the basis of all relationships is expectations, then what is the basis of all expectations? Well, I'm glad you asked. The basis of all expectations is communication. You and I need to communicate what we are thinking. We live in an era where there are millions of different ways that we can communicate. We can call on the phone, we can text message, we can email, we can instant message, we can go video, we can do TikTok, we can send a letter, we can send smoke signals. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, sometimes my dad communicated an entire sentence with just a look, right? What's interesting is we have all these ways to communicate, and yet we struggle in communication. We struggle to understand what the other person is trying to get across to us. And we repeat it and we do what we can because we struggle. Now, what's interesting is that communication has barriers. There are barriers to communication. We call it noise. Now, noise could literally be you and I trying to have a conversation and there's noise in the background. That could be it. But there also could be what's called internal noise. In other words, you're talking to me and I'm not paying attention, not because I don't care about what you're saying, but because I've got things that I'm thinking about. I wonder what that noise was in my car on the way here. I wonder why. I'm not feeling well. Why does my head hurt so much? And so all of these factors go into my ability to concentrate on what you're trying to say. Sometimes the message is so encoded that we don't get it. How many of you have ever tried to text message somebody and they text in little letters that don't make any sense? Yeah, if you're over 50, you've tried to text message with somebody and you go, could you just speak English? Right? So communication breaks down or relationships break down when communication breaks down. Heard of a story about a young couple that had gotten married, and they'd only been married about 6 months. And the wife asked the pastor for counseling. So we need counseling. Pastor said, what's the problem? She said, he doesn't love me. I've determined right now that he doesn't love me. And the husband was like, no, of course I love you. Of course. Why do you say that? And she said, you don't make me pancakes. Everybody looked at her and said, what? Well, every Saturday, my dad made me pancakes when I was a little girl growing up. And every Saturday morning, I would wake up and smell pancakes and realize that someone loved me. And I've been waiting for 6 months every Saturday for you to make pancakes, and you never have. You don't love me. The guy looked at the pastor. The pastor looked at the guy and said, the guy said, I don't know how to make pancakes. But you know what? I'm really good at bacon and eggs. And that next Saturday morning, when that woman woke up, she smelled bacon and eggs and knew that her husband loved her. See, we've got to be able to communicate what we're thinking. We got to be able to talk about what's going on inside of us, which means we got to think about what we're thinking about. What are your expectations? What are your expectations of me? What are your expectations of yourself? What are your expectations of this situation that we find ourselves? And we all have these rules that we've gotten written in our head, and we've got to learn how to communicate them to other people so that our relationships will make sense. I can't read my grandmother used to say, I can read your handwriting, but I can't read your mind. If you and I will learn to communicate and communicate our expectations, then our relationships will go well. Now you say, Ron, if the basis of all life is relationships, and it is, and if the basis of all relationships is expectations, and the basis of all expectations is communication, then what is the basis of all communication? The basis of all communication is understanding. I got to understand who I'm dealing with, which means I've got to learn about you. Now, there are lots of books on personality styles and birth order and why people do what they do, but you've got to understand who you're dealing with. Let me give you an example. I like to talk to people on the phone. If I'm going to communicate with you, I like to talk to you on the phone because 80% of communication is nonverbal. So not only can I hear the words you're saying, I can hear how you say them, in the order that you say them, the intensity of your voice. And so I can glean a lot of information based solely upon a conversation that may only take 10 or 15 seconds. But there are other people out there, they don't like to talk on the phone. They like to text message. I'll call my son and he'll ring and ring and ring and ring and he won't answer. And it'll go to voicemail and I'm like, I'm not leaving a voicemail. And 6 seconds after I hang up the phone, I'll get a text message. What did you want? What I want is to talk to you. But see, I know he doesn't like to talk on the phone. So if I want to communicate with him, a lot of times I'll just send him a text message. And it may say nothing more than, hey, I need you to call me. Guess what? He'll call me. We'll have a conversation. It'll be great. Some people use lots of words. Other people use very, very few words. And so you and I've got to understand that we're not dealing with people always just like us. There are people like me who are very boisterous and loud and use their hands and talk. And then there are people who are very, very quiet, who don't say very much at all. And they just want to listen. They don't want to say much. And when you ask them a question, they will use one word answers. How you doing? Fine. What's going on with you? I'm good. And so you and I have to understand that everybody's different. Now, in education, we call that differentiation because people learn differently. People react differently to different situations. But in the world of relationships, we just have to understand that everybody's different. So the basis of all life is relationships. The basis of all relationships is expectations. The basis of all expectations is communication. And the basis of all communication is understanding. Well, if that's true, then what's the basis of all understanding? The basis of all understanding is work. Relationships are work. You and I have to do the work. Now, my theory is that a good working relationship is what I like to call a two-way street. I give in the relationship and I get in the relationship. And so I give in the relationship, I get in the relationship. If you're in a relationship where it's only a one-way street, then that's not a healthy relationship. And it can end up being very, very toxic and very draining. Those are the people that when they call you or you get a text message from them, you act like you lost your phone because you know that the minute they reach out to you, they want something. They're not there for you, but they want you to be there for them. And that's what we call a toxic relationship. The reason this is called how to get along with just about anybody and not how to get along with everybody, because you can't get along with everybody because not everybody's willing to do the work. Not everybody's willing to put in the time and energy it takes to make a relationship that is productive and helpful. And if those are the people, then maybe you need a new relationship. Maybe you need to reach out some new people. Well, I hope this has been helpful. Hopefully, as we've gone through this, you've had what I like to call an aha moment. Because the basis of all life is relationships. The basis of all relationships is expectations. The basis of all expectations is communication. And the basis of all communication is understanding. And it all comes down to work. Hopefully that helps. And hopefully you get something out of this. Hopefully you had one of those aha moments. And